got us a live stream. Looks like we got audio. Looks like we got video. I'm here. I think you're here. Let's kick this off. All right. Hello and good evening. Happy Friday. It's been a scorcher of a week, folks. It's been hot and sticky and gross, and I'm generally not a fan. But we're here. We made it. It's Friday. What more can we say? Man. All right. Yeah, I hope everybody had a good week. I know, like I said, it was real hot here in the Northeast, but you know, we're here. We're doing it. We're doing it live, and I want to thank everyone for coming and hanging out. This is going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be picking up kind of where we left off from last week. And all right. I think we're back. I think. Let's see here. Turn this back. I think we're good. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we can make it through the rest of the show without my computer crashing again. That'd be swell. All right. Well, since I didn't get too far in, might as well start from the top. How's it going, guys? Welcome. Happy Friday. This here, or I guess, but this show, whatever. Staghammer Studios. We welcome you. I'm Wes, your humble host. It's been a doozy of a week. Work was real busy. It's been hot as balls. And personally, I'm real glad it's Friday. I'm looking forward to the weekends. I got some fun stuff planned for tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be kind of a, you know, nice chill weekend. That would be ideal. But anywho, I'm here. You're here. Let's do some hobby stuff, I suppose. So, on last week's show, I started a unit of Grot Stabbas from Gloomspite Gets, the Goblins from Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I actually managed to get a little bit of painting done over the course of the week. Not a ton. Oh, you know what? Speaking of cool art projects over the course of the week, so this is like really sappy, like dad brag stuff. But So over the last couple of days, my almost 2-year-old daughter and I sat down with some crayons and we just kind of went hog wild for a little bit. So I drew a bunch of pictures for her, and then she kind of added her own little flair to them. So we'll start off with a portrait of my daughter, because, you know. Then we have this lovely tree. You can see all of her nice additions on there. And then it gets better. We have a goblin. Hell yeah. This sweet dragon. Yeah. And a big old mean spider. So that's our fun pictures. And she helped draw a bunch of them and influenced them by telling me stupid things to draw, like the dragon breathes bubbles. Yeah, why not? Anywho, so yeah, back to like actual like hobby stuff. So yeah, I didn't do like a ton of stuff, but I did get to sit down for like probably a total of like a couple hours and just kind of plug away on a few things. Mostly some work on the grots. I picked one. In this case, it was the let's see if I can hold them up here to the camera. The unit champion, and so I brought him to, I'd say, like near completion, not like done by any stretch, but you know, base coats, some shading, some highlights. So he's like, I don't know, 75-80% done. But he was basically my test model, and I wanted to kind of like feel out the scheme for what I was going to be doing with the unit. And they're basically the Realm of Death goblins. So they're going to be part of my Realm of Death campaign that I'm going to be starting up soonish. And I'm actually going to be starting to film the battle reports for that. My goal is to start filming them by the end of the summer. And I keep saying that, and summer is quickly ticking away on me. But once this unit is done and I get a few other little bits and bobs done, I'll have like the initial stuff to get started. And then I just need to figure out, like, I have a camera to actually film it on. I just need to figure out like if I'm going to do any special like rigs or anything like that. And I'll probably like do some test footage and stuff like that. But anyway, the short version is battle reports will be coming to the YouTube channel hopefully by end of summer. That's the goal, at least. And then we'll probably do like one a month to start, and if that picks up traction, or like as I learn to sort of like edit and stuff a little bit better, hopefully a little bit faster, and more frequently, once every other week or something like that, maybe. But I don't know. I got a 2-year-old, you know what I mean? So I don't have a ton of time to devote to that kind of thing as of now. But as time goes on, hopefully they'll become a little bit more frequent. We'll see. But yeah, so I did do, you know, like some of these guys, I did the shields. I only did like a couple of them. I find myself getting like a little bit of hobby ADD while it's all in the same project. Like, I've got one guy that's kind of a coat is drying, so I put him to the side, then I pick up another dude, and completely out of like my normal sequence, I'll start painting like whatever on him. And so there's just like random things done on random goblins and whatever. So, but anyway, a lot of it I think was me kind of like testing my process and figuring out like what order I wanted to try and do things in, etc. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all I got for news, guys. So I hope everyone had a good week leading up to this. I hope everyone's looking forward to the weekend. It is Friday night. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself thus far. And I think without any real further ado, we're going to bounce on down to the table and see what we're dealing with. Let's get our lights situated. I apologize, maybe. I mean, I guess I don't apologize that much, but I apologize a little bit if I have any sort of like wardrobe malfunctions and there's a wee nip slip or something like that. This tank top, I needed something a little. It's real hot. I've got an AC going, but come on, guys. Anyway, that's my default warning out of the way. I don't really care one way or the other, but you know, if any of y'all are sensitive, you've been warned. All right, so we're gonna crack open the pallet here. In retrospect, I probably should have remembered to get myself a fresh pot of water for this, but you know what? It's fine. I haven't done metallics, so it's not going to be too polluted. Okay, so looking at what we've managed to accomplish thus far. So this was the guy that I did over the course of the week, just to kind of like bring him up to, like I said, almost done. And he was a boatload of fun. I love the metallics on that weapon. They're just so shiny. That's the this stuff here, by the way, the Vallejo metal color steel, and then for like all the little edges and the sharpened bits, it's where is it? Oop, silver. I can't recommend those paints enough if you are into this kind of thing. They are the best metal paints you can buy. So I did a little fiddling with the banner bearer as well. So we've got the crest on the banner all situated. I think I'm going to change. There's two little moon icons, one on either side of the banner pole here, and I painted them because like basically all of the moon iconography here I've done in this like greenish blue tealy color. But I think between, and technically speaking, the little mushroom caps on these little mushrooms are a different color than the greens used elsewhere, but it's so close that I think I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So I think I'm going to make these icons on either side here just metal, and take the paint, the paint color away. But otherwise, this guy is getting close to done. I still have to do some stuff. This is what I'll be working on to start. And then I'm going to jump over to the musician, which I've done a few things. I started by painting all of their eyes red, and then I realized that that wasn't my actual plan, and I wasn't sure why I was doing that. I did go through most of them. The skin on most of them is done, by the way. And I took like a dark red wash and dropped it into the eyes. So they've got like a sore kind of like reddish hue around the eyes. But what I'll be doing is going in with like an off-white, like a thin off-white. So it's got like that I live in the dark and my eyes don't really work kind of like cataract almost vibe going on. So anyway, that's what we'll be getting to at some point. But I think I'm going to worry about the bulk of them right now. I'm not super worried about dotting all their eyes. But I want to get like, the main portion of the models done, or as close to. So we're going to keep working on the banner guy to start. And then we'll switch over and we'll do the musician. And then we'll kind of try and rapid fire through as much of the rest of these guys as possible. But I wanted to at least focus on trying to get the command guys done. The banner, the musician, and the champion, and we'll kind of, we'll go from there. All right. So that being said, what is left on this guy to do? I don't know. Yeah, you guys can see it a little bit, I think. The on the hoods, on the little tips here, because they're supposed to be like I took my paint inspiration from the red caps from Irish folklore. And so their hoods, the very tip, fade to like a dark crimson, which I kind of like. And the idea is that it's just soaked in blood because they're metal AF. Okay, so what I still need to do is, on this guy at least, is the stitching, the metallics, the rope belt, and he's got a little icon as a belt buckle, and his teeth. So that's where we're starting. So we're gonna grab ourselves a wee little brush, get it wet. Hello, folks. Got Mandy and Jason in the chat. Hello, hello. I hope you both are doing well. It is hot. It is too damn hot and sticky and muggy, and I am not a fan. All right, what colors do I need? What colors do I need? Let's go with a little bit of this. Gonna be the Screaming Skull from Citadel Paint. As I've explained numerous times on this show, it bears repeating. I use predominantly Citadel paints, but it's more out of convenience than anything else. I was gifted a very large cache of them at some point, and I'm still kind of working my way through them. I also have a pretty decent supply of Army Painters paint, and I'm slowly getting some Vallejo in my repertoire. But let's see, is he on? Yeah, he is. Alright, so right now we've picked up like a beige color, a little off-white, and we're just going to kind of hit the stitching on this. For the most part, I like the Citadel paints. Let me just put that out there. I don't want it to sound like I'm talking trash on them. I do like most of them. The ones that I tend not to like are their metallics, but as I said, the Vallejo metal color specifically is where it's at for metallic paints. And so if you're in the market for some good metallic paints, that's what you want. Have good coverage. They have blendability. The pigment is nice and small, so it doesn't like look like glitter paint when you're done. It's quite nice. Go. Fortunately, the stitching is kind of a raised detail, so when you come in with the brush at a nice angle, you can just kind of ride the top of it. Of course, I say that and then I completely screwed up, but you know, whatever. I don't claim to be perfect, or even all that good. But, what I do claim is that I have fun. Alright, now we need... What color was I using for the rope? Probably should write that crap down. I think it was Steel Legion Drab. Does that look right? That looks right. It's brown. You know. But it's a different brown than the wood and his little leather shoes. Use just all the same brown. And you know, as I think about it too, I don't think I ever really use this brown much on like models or anything like that. I did for a while. I was using it to like put on, especially on my Nurgle army, I was using it on the bases for the base rims because I thought it was like a good, I don't know, sort of swampy. It went with the basing scheme, let's put it that way. And but on my Death Army in particular here, I've switched over to just black rimming the bases, and realistically I like that way better anyway. So Not a super fan of bright, colorful. Not that, you know, a drab brown is bright and colorful by any stretch, but I like the separation that the black base rim brings. I think one of my inspirations and favorite YouTube personalities and hobby heroes, Vince Venturella, explained it best, that the miniature and the base that the miniature is on exist in its own sort of like world, its own universe, and it begins and ends with the base. You're never going to get a perfect, you know, like your guys might be on a snowy base and they could be playing in a desert, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to match the table. It just has to match the army and the world that you want that army to exist in general. And by having the black, like the hard black line around the base rim, it draws that separation between the, you know, and shows the boundary of where the model's universe ends and then the game universe begins. If that makes any sense. He explains it far better than I do, but that's my paraphrasing. So I've been, I think one of the things that I like about this paint scheme is I went into it sort of with a relatively clear plan in mind of the feel, and like I had some inspiration going into it, but I also kind of told myself that I was going to make it a point to use colors that I don't normally use. Like, this is its own separate army. You know, my undead army, let me rephrase that. I have two undead armies, technically. Night Haunt, which is its own separate army, which is all ghosts and stuff. And then I've got my Legions of Nagash army, which is my main sort of focus. But the Legions of Nagash army is like skeletons, and purple is like the main color for that army. I love the color purple, especially like dark purple, like, I don't know, like a royal or an eggplant purple. And so I wanted a chance to use that in an army, and I just felt like it fit with my vampire-driven undead army. So that's what I went for. And Nurgle was one of my first armies, or was my first army, and that had a lot of like dark greens and browns and earth tones and stuff like that, and that works well for my particular tastes and styles. Like, I like a lot of earth tones. I like things to look vaguely realistic as much as they can for something that's like, you know, pretty high fantasy. But, you know, with each army, I like to have like distinct sort of different colors, so that they look different enough on the table. If everything has like the same sort of color to it, then let's say the two armies are fighting each other, well, they're gonna just look like one big swarm of whatever on the table. So I don't know. Anyway, in this particular it's this sort of like you know, turquoisey green that I've been picking. Specifically the colors, it's Cyberite green, whatever, as like my base, and then I do like a little recessed shade of Coelia green shade, which is like their sort of like blue-green wash, and then I do all the highlighting, and then sort of like basically like a layer over the top of Gauss Blaster green, which is like super light mint green. And the combination of all three of those I like quite a bit. for the kind of like sickly green. I don't know. There was a, I don't even know where. I think it probably showed up in maybe Malign Portents, the book that came out for that. I think probably in the. I wish I could like share screens. I know there's a way to do it. I just haven't set it up to do it through this program. But basically, there's a piece of Warhammer art that is specific to the Gloomspite Gits that shows the bad moon, and it's like a depiction of the bad moon in the sky, and it has this sort of like it's illuminated like the moon is, but it's not like white. It's like this sickly green, kind of weird, creepy color. And I wanted to pull that color specifically and that feel from that one piece of artwork and put that onto these models somehow. So that's why I chose that color for the sort of like the big pop colors. So while these guys are mostly like black and gray robes, having that bright sort of blue, green, I don't know, it works for me. I like it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and in the chat, but I think it's a pretty cool combo. Anywho, we're gonna move on real quick. Switch up our brush. We're gonna grab us some Seraphim Sepia. Alright. With that Seraphim Sepia, we are going to wash the little skull icon on the top here. And the ropes. Might as well get that too. Good to me. Just like that. Looks like a skull. Alright, put that away. Actually, you know what? Yeah, whatever. Just gonna have it. Put our paints away when we're done. Where is my steel? Just gonna do some of the metallics on this guy real quick. I'm not even going to bother putting it on now. I'll just take it right out of the cap. Like I said, I'm going to switch these icons on the banner over to being metallics because I don't like the concentration of teals. Well, that's off. I don't like the concentration of teals, and I want to bring the metallics up, and this is sort of the best logical place to do that. So the little moon icons on either side of the banner are going silver. One. Other one real quick. I'm going to come through with the Vallejo metal color silver. We're just going to give these things a quick edge highlight, and then they'll be done. We also, while we're here, and while we've got this color, we're going to do his sword blade. Stabba blade. Blouse with 2 zippers. Oh man, that's like twice the zippers your average blouse has, I feel. Unless blouses more commonly have zippers than I think. Is that the plural of blouses? Blouses? It seems like it should be. But it sounds weird to me, so I don't know. A little bit of metal. Am I? Oh no, I'm managing to actually stay on camera to a point. Alright. Touch of metal down here. Pommel. Quick second coat on this. Okay, good. It is blouses, and not common. Got it. All right. I feel like I'm on the same page now. I know where we're at. All right. Yeah. See, with those moons, silver, those mushrooms stand out a lot more now, which is what I was going for. They kind of got lost, and it was just too heavy. It was too heavy, but that balanced things nicely, and I'm a way bigger fan of that now. Alright, this guy's almost done. We need to... What do we need to do? What's left? Go back to our slightly finer brush. Different paint. Grabbing a smidge of, what is this? Xandri dust. This is going to be our little bit of a highlight on the Steel Legion drab, I think. I just think this is going to be a pretty decent color for rope. No? Come in and we're just going to see if we can't find a couple little lines on there. Give it a little bit more definition and volume. Do a little bit on this rope at the top. We don't have to hit every single one of them because nobody's going to see them all. Nobody's going to care. Just a couple quick little highlights. So that at a distance, it's not just a brown blob. There's actually a little bit of something going on. All right, and then we need silver. Just gonna run a little bit of that silver along the edges. This side. Don't forget the little pommel spike. No. Oh, there. We're going to put some tiny little hashes onto the blade here. There he's been chopping things. Although these are stabbas, so maybe he's been stabbing things. Whatever. You don't want to put too much thought and logic into goblin weaponry because, come on, they're a little wacky. All right. The skull still needs a little bit of highlights on the top. That's a little too flat for my tastes, but the wash is still drying a little bit. Oh, I missed a spot with the metallics. Shame on me. All right, we're gonna put that now before I forget. There's a little on the flagpole here. It's like a little connector or reinforcement. I don't know. Something. There's something. And it looks to me like it should be metal. So we're going to make it metal. Perfect. Metal base coat acquired. So what's, Mandy, you got yourself a little project. Your little blouse. What, Jason, what are you working on if you're still bouncing around in the chat there? Oh, and to answer your question from earlier, sort of a little bit more in person, yes, I do have the build instructions for the Mortarks, which includes Archon the Black. I have that somewhere. I have the Mortark kit kicking around, and like a maybe, I don't know, half-built Archon the Black of my own. I've been meaning to work on him, but it's a big project and didn't feel like starting a big project while I had so many half-finished little projects. So I wanted to finish some of those little projects before I started something else. But in the meantime, if you want to borrow those instructions, you are more than welcome, friend. Highlights on those moon icons, highlights on the sword, highlights on all the metal. I'll go ahead and call this guy pretty done. He's reached the Isle of Good Enough. All right, so we're gonna start a little pile over here. Maybe I'll deal with the skull, throw some highlights on that at some point in the near future. Probably can actually come back to it a little bit later tonight. All right, we need this bone color, light bone color, and we are going to attempt to dot his eyes. Oh. Again. This is such a pain in the ass. Especially because I went to all the effort of going through these guys and doing this red. Only to realize that I didn't want it red. So that meant I now have to color the eyes twice. And I'm trying to put over a darker red color, trying to put an off-white. Often means I need to do a couple of little coats. Good enough. Good enough. Actually, no, I lied. It's not good enough. So, the wash I used on the eyes was Caribird Crimson. So I'm going to take a little bit of Caribird Crimson. Just drop that under the eyes to kind of mask where I over brushed a little bit. Just kind of bring that red. That's better. I like that. I can live with that. Let's see. Can we get the camera to even vaguely focus on his eyes? It's not. That's crazy stuff. The light is super glowing. Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's got eyeballs. Little white, off-white eyeballs. Hooray. Okay. What are we up to next here? So just gonna slap some base coats on this guy, and we're gonna be using this brown here. This is, what is this, Rhinox hide? Those that are following along care about such things. Rhinox hide for the little boots. Nice dark brown, but it's a warm brown. This is important because contrast is nice, and the robes are a cold black. I used to make the gray, I used a very pale blue. So they are cool. So the warm colors against the cool colors gives them a little bit of temperature contrast, which is nice. It looks so good. Very pleasing to the eye. Use the same brown to base coat the wood, which is a little stick for his... I'm going to go ahead and say that's a gong. This guy's got a gong. I don't know what else to call that other than a gong. Yeah. I think the War Scroll... Does the War Scroll actually give it a name? Is it just... Let's see. It is a gong. Yes, he's called a gong basha. Oh, goblins. They're so dumb. Ooh. Facing some prosecutors, painting some Zangor. Sorry, I just saw your comments there. That's quite the spread. You know, I gotta say, we are grossly overdue for a game. I haven't quite figured out with everything that's going on how best for everyone to get together. Like we're, for instance, like, I don't know, my wife is having a couple of her coworkers over tomorrow. And so like we around our house in small batches and small doses. We've been having people over. Typically people that are like kind of in our rough circles anyway. Like, it's coworkers. My wife's around them all the time anyway, so you know, whatever. But that being said, we have had a couple people over from time to time, but we usually hang outside on the back deck. You know, there's plenty of fresh air to be had and space up there, so we still kind of try and social distance when they're over, but at the same time, we're not overly cautious, I suppose, which is what it is. It's one of those topics that's very touchy, you know, like, it's hard to know when it's okay to start not going back to normal, you know, like, I'm not suggesting we, I don't know, have like massive parties or anything like that, but at the same time, like, it's with everything reopening, and they've basically said that small social gatherings are sort of admissible. It's on my mind. Let's put it that way. But I am certainly planning on, as I mentioned earlier on the stream today and have mentioned on streams past, I will be doing some kind of battle reports, even if it's just me doing some solo battle reports, which will give me, in theory, some practice anyway for figuring out how I want to shoot and edit and all that stuff, our narrative campaign. But I do want to get that to a point where it's going to be battle reports for basically all of that stuff. Because that should be a lot of fun. I figure if we're getting together and playing a game like once a month for that anyway, like, might as well set up a camera and record it. And with a little bit of editing, ta-da! Okay, so we have our wood and leather. So that brown is done for all the base coating. We're gonna grab, let's see, how do we want to do this? What's the best order for this? A little Rackhearth flesh for the skull on the top here. For the record, I love this color, Rackhearth Flesh. It is such a versatile color, and I use it all the time. It's my go-to pale skin tone. I used it on all the goblins for their skin, and depending on what kind of a wash you put over it, if you choose to like wash over it, you can get like vastly different results. But it's just such a good creamy base color, and it's my go-to bone color these days. I'll put it down for bone and then use Seraphim Sepia over the top and then highlight up from there. Usually, what do I highlight with? I usually Screaming Skull as like my first, and then pallid witch flesh as my like higher highlight. That's usually my go-to bone recipe these days. Especially for my Legions of Nagash army, because I think it gives a very nice pale, like sun-bleached, cold bone color, which suits the mood of that army. What I was going for. But yeah. But for the skin tone on these guys, I chose instead to wash with Agrax Earthshade because I wanted them to be like dirty. You could very easily wash with like Athonian Camo Shade and it would give you like a nice sort of like sickly green over that. I used that actually quite a bit on some of my Nurgle troops. Specifically the what did I do it on? The Marauders. That's what it was. I had some Nurgle marked Chaos Marauders, and I used in like certain spots on them Athonian Camo Shades to give that sort of like sickly look. And then I've used the Reichland Flesh Shade wash to give it, you know, just a really pale sort of skin, like Caucasian skin tone. Yeah. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. It's really good for skin, but like I said, it's good for bone. You can use it for cloth. It makes really good cloth. Makes really good, like, candle wax. Use it for that. I don't know. Like I said, just one of my favorites. Used for many a thing. The mushrooms are now getting a base coat in Ulthuan Gray. This is going to take a couple of coats to cover well, but that's fine. But this is like a very cold white, very similar to the color I used to highlight, mix in with the black to highlight the gray on the robes. So it's like a white with a tint to the blue shades. And I'm choosing to use this for the mushrooms. And ultimately, it will basically just be an undercoat for the mushroom caps, which I'll go over with a little bit of Nihilic Oxide. But the stem, right? I'm pretty sure that's the correct term for the anatomy of a mushroom. And but the stem will remain this color, so it'll have like a white stem with kind of a bluish cap. I know cap is the right term. I managed to find a bunch of the playlists for like all the copyright-free, royalty-free music. I managed to find one that we're listening to now that was all drum and bass, which is pretty cool. I'm enjoying it so far, I gotta say. Again, it's not like 100% what I would like to be listening to right now, but for the stream it works just fine. The trick is it's got to be like copyright free, otherwise you get yelled at by YouTube and Facebook now. I was doing a bonus stream a couple of weeks ago that wasn't like the Friday night thing. I think it was like on a Tuesday or something random. I just happened to have a night where I was kind of free, so I decided to jump on for a little extra stream. And I had just like some, like, I didn't post it to YouTube or anything like that. It was just like a, you know, bonus Facebook stream. And I had music playing that was, because I wasn't going to post it, I figured it doesn't have to be copyright free. Oh boy, was I wrong. Facebook, like the, I don't know, the Facebook bot algorithm thing, like figured out what songs I was listening to and sent me like a couple of warning messages saying like, hey, you're playing copywritten music. If you don't stop, we're going to kill your stream. And I was like, ah, that's funny. You're silly, Facebook. Sure enough, like 10 minutes later, my stream just got shut off. I was like, you're a dick. But anyway, that's my story. All right. That's pretty good, solid base coats on those from where I sit. Good enough, at least. Oh, I lied. Sorry, folks. I just lied to all of you. Missing a little spot on the back of this stick. Alright, so need our overdue for a game. And it's Joe posted up pictures of him playing a game somewhere that I saw recently. I don't remember if it was in our group chat. It was in a group chat. I just don't remember which. And I remember being incredibly jealous. I think he was playing with his brother-in-law. So it was family, so it's not like, you know, I guess a big deal or unusual that. But I was definitely like, man, I got the itch. I'm jonesing. I need my fix. Alright. Love how relatively quickly these guys can take shape. Outside here. The funny thing is, I went through all these steps on the sort of the shields and the icons and stuff like that, and I feel like just a wash with nihilic oxide, and it probably would have had the same effect. But whatever. I know that I went through extra steps and tried really hard to make it look cool, and that's good enough. Alright. Mushrooms are capped. I was thinking about, like, maybe picking out, like, since there's 3 mushrooms, maybe picking out one and doing it, like, a little bit different. I was thinking about maybe doing, like, little purple dots on it or something like that, just to kind of further tie in, like, Realm of Deathiness. But I decided against it, I think, in the grand scheme. I just kind of want to keep it. Oh no. Got some nihilic oxide on the skull. You don't want that there. No. And then I wiped off the wash. Who hiss? Okay. Fixed it! Ooh, Josh is playing Night Haunt now, huh? That's awesome. How's he liking it? Or how did he like it? He said it was new to him, so. Alright, we're gonna do the gong and the little bash a bit. Do that in Silva. Wicked Silva. Wicked Bright Silva kit. I like that this guy's default weapon is the thing he hits the gong with. Now, sort of in keeping with the theme of tonight's show, I don't know what the technical name is for the thing that you hit a gong with. I assume it's called a mallet. That sounds like that's what that should be called. If anyone knows better, let me know. Any gong aficionados out there. Look at that, I'm actually managing to kind of keep this in frame. Going to screw up my nice paint job on that just to make sure I get my metallics into all the nooks and crannies where it needs to be. Trying to be all super neat about it, but I can just repaint that green color pretty easily. You know, at the risk of sounding like a jerk, I love these models because they're packed with character. They're just so, each one is just so fun and goofy. But there are, from time to time, as I paint these things, whether it's these models or any other model, we'll find areas where you're just like, okay, that was just lazy sculpting. Like if you look at the front of this, the gong has like this like beaten metal texture to it, right? Like there's something going on. But then the back of it is just like this, looks like a bottle cap almost. Like it's just like smooth, featureless, just kind of meh. And if they had just put something in there, some texture, I feel like that's just like, I don't want to say lazy sculpting, but lazy sculpting. I say that like I feel I could do better, which, let's be realistic here, I could not. I am not a sculptor. I was never any good at it. Although I suppose I also gave up real easily, so who knows? Maybe I could have been good at sculpting. But I chose not to be. Alright. I'm happy with the metallic base coat. Is indeed a mallet. Oh, see? Look at that. Sometimes my word instincts are, they pay off. Collecting Night Haunt, Sylvaneth, and Ideneth Deepkin. Huh? You know, can I seriously get more of that on the skull? Sometimes, guys, I'm just real bad at this whole painting thing. I try to be okay. Sometimes I succeed at being okay. Other times, I can't figure out how to get out of my own way. Yeah, I guess Deepkin is one of those armies, man, that I just can't get into. There's no world in which that's an army, and you know, it's not to say that it's a bad army. I just don't care for the aesthetic personally. I'm glad that other people like it, and I'm glad that he likes it for sure. Let's not get that twisted, but I just can't. For whatever reason, it's just something I can't quite sink my teeth into. I think honestly, it's just because it's elves. If we're being honest, I kind of just don't like elves, like at all. Like Lumineth, again, don't really care. The only exception would be Wood Elves. Wood Elves is an army I could get behind. If they did like a reimagined Wood Elves, like all day, I'd be 100% behind that. You know, I don't know that comforts is the right word, Mandy, but like, I'm glad it's not just me that struggles with their own hobby at times. So, yeah. Let's repaint this moon. All right. Yeah, the unfortunate thing with some of these models, and like the thing that brings me comfort is the fact that like over the whole unit, the colors will be balanced, but on some of the models specifically, like on this guy, for instance, all of the bluey green is like way up here, and there's nothing bringing it down further into the model, and that to me, like, that weirds me out. But when you look at all of the unit together, it will be evenly dispersed, so it's not ultimately that big of a deal. It's just one of those weird little sort of pet peeves where I'm like, oh, that should be better, but it's not. I will, going back to Jason, going back to the Josh's armies and talking about those, Sylvaneth, that is an army that I'm super interested in, and not even necessarily from like a gameplay rules standpoint, although I do think like it's got some cool stuff that it can do, but just the models are amazing. And for me, like, I have this whole, and I know for you specifically, I've I've explained this to, but I had paint his toenails. You know, if he had toenails and wasn't wearing little boots, I would legitimately consider that. But yeah, so we're gonna actually switch up the camera. We're gonna just do one of these. We're gonna bump this down, and I'm just gonna monologue for a little bit. This is a quick little story time, guys. While we do this, I'm gonna get myself set up with some libations. So let's see here. Whoa. Easy does it, buddy. Don't get me wrong, I'm eager to drink you, but stay in the can, please. Okay, so story time. A lot of this like fun project that I'm working on right now, and honestly, I don't want to say the entirety of the narrative campaign, but like the sort of like the seed that started the whole idea came from my Legions of Nagash army, which like when I first started playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Now I played Warhammer kinda when I was in like middle school. I had a friend that got me into it. I started collecting like the old school. This was in like Warhammer Fantasy Battles way back. I couldn't tell you what edition it was, but I think it was like maybe 4th. I don't know. We'll throw that number out there. I don't rightly remember. Anyway, so the I was collecting orcs and goblins at the time because I thought they were super cool. That ties in with like a whole other thing where like I started playing Magic a few years before then, and I liked playing red decks because they had a lot of orcs and goblins, and I thought orcs and goblins were cool, and that followed me into Warhammer. There's the dumb backstory. So anyway, that being said, when I got back into the hobby, Warhammer in general, and I started playing Age of Sigmar, I decided I was going to start an army, and I couldn't decide between two armies, and that was Nurgle for Chaos, and honestly, Legions of Nagash didn't exist at the time. It was just Death in general. Grand Alliance Death. And I couldn't decide. I was like, oh, they both like aesthetically, something spoke to me about both of them. I was super into it, and I was like, I don't know. Every game I ever played, I play tanks. Like, you know, whether it's like MMOs or RPGs of any sort, I love playing beefy, tanky characters. So I was like, well, what play style is the tankiest? And at the time, the answer was Nurgle. So that's what I went with. And I don't necessarily have any regrets. I still very much love the army, and I had a lot of fun painting the army, which there's a ton of stuff that's not painted, but it's like from a narrative and a lore standpoint, there's only I feel like there's only so much you can do with chaos. I don't know if that's necessarily a true statement, but allow me to sort of explain. So there's 4 major chaos gods, right? I'm not going to get into the specifics of all that lore stuff now, but there's 4 main gods. And basically all of the armies that surround them are doing what they're doing for their god. That's it. That's their entire motivation, is please their god, and prove that they're the biggest, baddest, coolest dude in their particular faction. That's like their two motivating factors. That's it. And so So I almost kind of got bored with Miracle a little bit as a result. Like, but for when I started collecting my Death Army, particularly one that was run by a vampire, I thought that in my head there was like way more stuff you could do with that, because like, you know, yes, in the end, technically all of death reports to Nagash, the god of undeath. However, the vampires have been granted some autonomy, and you know, they're kind of like lone operators. And like, I almost went back to my Warhammer Fantasy Battles roots a little bit and was like, well, we're going to kind of play these guys like it's vampire courts. You know, and so I wanted to build like a very sort of like vampire courtsy army. So there's just like a ton of skeletons. I loved the skeletons. I went with the Death Rattle. Was like my initial plan for the Death Army. Like, I wanted to go like full-on skeletons, like just big skeleton horde with like the vampire that's just running the show, with like maybe a couple little necromancer minions helping to like do magic-y stuff. And that's basically like, that's the army I built. And it's a ton of fun. But through that, all of this, like, I kept coming up with all this cool backstory and like more ideas, and like one idea would lead to another, So like, I have this big terrain piece. It's one of the official Games Workshop terrain pieces, the Warscryer Citadel, which used to be something else in Fantasy Battles, and I'm drawing a blank on it. Whatever, doesn't matter. It's called the Warscryer Citadel now, so that's what I'm going to call it. But I have one, and it's not done being painted, but it's got some paint on it. But I decided that was going to be the castle that my vampire lord lived in, and like in my head, I pictured that castle sitting on top of like a hill, you know, that was at like the base of some mountains. And like any good vampire castle, it has to be surrounded by this haunted forest, right? Like, that's just, come on, that's what you do. If you're a vampire and you build a castle, you build it in the middle of the haunted woods. Whether they're haunted initially or just by happenstance because there's a vampire castle in the middle, they're now haunted. However you get from point A to point B, the important thing is vampire castle, haunted forest. So Sylvaneth, to me, came in there because I don't want to play them like the lore for Sylvaneth. I don't care. I'm not going to use any of it. I found in the because my brother plays Sylvaneth, so I've read through the book a little bit, and there's a specific battalion or grove or whatever the hell it's called Dreadwood. And the entire thing is that it plays off of like bravery mechanics. It does like bravery bombing, and it uses the spite revenants like heavily, which also do stuff with bravery. So like thematically, it all made sense to me. Like, this was the haunted forest. I was going to build the scary tree army. I'm not going to get like Alariel or any of like the nice Sylvaneth stuff. It's all going to be like big angry trees, and it's going to be painted, you know, very sort of like dark and sinister looking. And the headcanon for it is that you know, the whether it's the night haunt specifically or just like, you know, malicious spirits in the area gravitated towards, you know, like just like angry spirits, not like tree spirits or nature spirits, just fucking ghosts, like poltergeist style, like possess the trees and then like all come to life, and just anybody that walks into the woods, they just go ham on them. So it's sort of like this ring of protection around the citadel where the vampire lives. So he likes it, you know. Anyway, that's Justin. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. You have a good one. You take care. So yeah, so that's basically the game plan. You know, is the Sylvaneth is going to come in that aspect, and they're going to be like spooky tree ghosts, and I'm super looking forward to it. I'll be collecting them at some point. You know what I mean? Like it's not high on my list, but because it's going to play a factor in the narrative campaign at some point, I think I don't know when it will come in is the short answer, but at some point it's coming. I'll probably pick up like a Sylvaneth start collecting box, before the end of the year at least. I'll aim probably for the fall. I've got so many like painting projects and stuff like that I need to do, but I think how I guide those painting projects, with the exception of like commissions and stuff like that, how I guide those painting projects, it's going to be pretty much based on like what's coming up in the campaign. So like I'll try and think like a few steps ahead, be like, okay, well, you know, like this is some of the stuff that I'm planning for Jason and for Joe and for myself and stuff like that, stuff I want to throw in. So do I have those models ready to go, or do I need to get them ready? And then, you know, I'll like dive in and try and, you know, like knock them out as quick as possible. So that's the strategy I'm going for. As much of a strategy as that might be. Okay, anyway, back down to the desk. So that was story time, and that's my thoughts on the Sylvaneth. They're rad, and I totally am going to get some at some point. You are right, no backstory is dumb. They're all pretty awesome, but mine tend to be like silly tangents, which again is not necessary. It's not inherently a bad thing. Let's put it that way. Okay, is there anything else I can do with this brush on this model? No. Okay, let's switch over to our finer brush here. We are going to do some highlights. We're going to do this belt. Needs some base coat loving. Do. But all of the armies that I have right now, which is, you know, when I sit back and look at like the spread that I have, like it's a pretty decent collection. Like most of them are very small. Some of them aren't even like 1,000 points worth of, you know, army X, Y, or Z. You know, it's like maybe 500 or 600 points, give or take. But realistically, for the narrative stuff that I'm planning, it's going to be like bouncing back and forth between, you know, like sometimes it might be like a 2,000 point battle. Sometimes it might be like a skirmish style, you know, like war cry based, you know, sort of skirmish fight between some small stuff. Sometimes it'll be like 1,000 points, 500 points. Like it depends on the story, and what's going on will depend on the size of the actual encounter. So a lot of those models will probably end up, or a lot of those armies will probably end up basically being like a, like almost like a D&D random encounter kind of thing, you know? So they'll just kind of be there, and then if you guys are going from point A to point B, there's like a chance that you'll meet somebody, and depending on the territory you're in, depends on who you might encounter. So I've got my Khorne Bloodbound, which I wrote some cool backstory for. I believe the name I picked for them, their little war band, they're the Brotherhood of Ash. And basically, so Khorne is one of the Chaos Gods that I told you earlier I wasn't going to get into. Well, guess what? We're getting into it now because I just thought about it. It came up, and it works. Khorne, he's the god of, like, how to explain it? He's the blood god. He's the chaos god, so he's inherently like a bad dude. But you know, he likes murder and bloodshed. He loves skulls as trophies, but he doesn't like killing like innocent people. He doesn't like killing. He's all about like martial prowess and like honorable combat, and like you got to go and look for like the biggest, baddest dude around and kill him as brutally as possible and take his head, and then that is a sufficient trophy to like bring before Khorne. So anyway, these guys, they end up during the Age of Chaos. There's a ton of people that influx into. Take it easy, Jason. Have a good night. Thanks for coming and hanging out. So Age of Chaos, there's a big influx into the realm of death of Chaos folks, because, you know, they're trying to take over everything. It's what they do. And so Khorne wants in on the action because specifically there is an area in the realm of death, and I forget what the name of it is off the top of my head. There's an actual like lore name for it. I think the name is like Halost, and it's basically like it's the Warhammer equivalent of like Valhalla. So it's like where all the like honorable dead go, and they basically wake up every day, fight, kill each other, and then all get resurrected, go and party, and then wake up the next day, rinse and repeat, right? And Khorne, he's all about that. Like, he's like, okay, first of all, you guys are fighting constantly. That's great. And he could send in like his demon forces to go fight them over and over and over again, and it would basically just train all of his troops forever. So he was pretty keen on that. So these guys were sent to go like take over that area, basically. Now, it's the realm of death. There's a lot of dead things there, right? Dead things aren't known for having a lot of blood, which is, like I said, he's the blood god. So you could see where that might be a little problematic. Now, as I mentioned, he's also really fond of skulls. Well, the realm of death doesn't have a lot of blood, but sure has a lot of skulls. So the whole skew of the army is basically that they went like hog wild in the skull department. Yeah, it's like blowout sale in the skull aisle. Everything must go. And so the idea is that all of their armor is going to be made of the bones of their enemies. They're going to be fighting with Osiarch Bone Reapers all the time because their main resource is also bone. And they just want the bone. And I'd come up with a bunch of cool stuff for the army in general, like theme stuff that was like, they had, I typed it all up on my laptop, so it's kicking around somewhere, but the gist of it is they cover themselves in ash, so their bodies are going to be like covered in gray ash, and this is like a symbolic thing for them. So it's like when they are like accepted into the warband, there's like an initiation process that they have to go through, where they've got a temple or like an altar to Khorne set up at the top of like this stairwell, and there's a bunch of like initiates on the stairs, and they have to, like, the wannabe warband initiate has to fight their way up the stairs. So all the guys that are posted along the way, they have to fight through and defeat them all to get to the top. And when they do, there's what's called the ever-burning brazier, and it's like this brazier, this fire in like a big metal bowl, and it's always burning. And it's a magical flame. It represents the anger and the rage and the wrath of Khorne. And what they have to do is take, like, their oh, but this is the other thing. On the way up, their only weapon is they have a dagger, just like a big knife. Basically what they have to do is when they get to the top, they plunge the knife into their chest and carve open a big, like, gaping wound in their chest. They reach into the ever-burning brazier and they pull out an ember, and they have to jam that into the chest, like the chest wound. And this is like, not only is it like a bravery thing, but it's like a test of faith. Like, do you have enough, like, courage and conviction in Khorne that you are willing to do this and trust that Khorne is going to see you through it? And so one of two things happens. Either you are found unworthy and the ember goes into your chest and it just instantly boils your blood and you fall dead and lifeless at the top. At which point like a couple of servants come out and they'll just take your corpse and chuck it onto the flame to keep it burning. You are now fuel for the fire. If you are deemed worthy, then it lodges itself, the ember lodges itself in their chest and cauterizes the wound. And with that embedded in their chest, they are therefore granted a small portion of Khorne's power. And that's the story for this warband and how they sort of operate. So the paint scheme for them that I've chosen is they're going to have like sort of like gray, like just neutral gray, ashy skin, and then all of their armor is going to be like bone plates with gold trim, so yeah, that's what I got so far. At least they're going to be fun. I haven't started painting them at all, but I also don't like super need to have them painted anytime soon. They're like pretty low on my totem pole of important things right now. But it's wicked metal is the short answer. All right. Yes, we threw highlight. Oh, that's what I didn't do. We need to... these little leather strappy bits holding the gong. And I've started writing out, I have an Ogre Maw tribe army started as well. And I have a little bit of lore set up for them. Maybe I'll save that for another episode. Start feeding you guys my weird brain nuggets of backstory for my armies. Yeah. All right, what time is it? 10:45. All right. Team, I think this guy's done. I'm inclined to go ahead and call this guy done. Oh, no, I lied. Guys, I'm the worst. I've just been lying to you guys left, right, and center tonight. Every time I make, like, a definitive statement, I always have to, like, backtrack, like, a second later. We did not edge highlight this thing at all for the metallics. Gotta come in and do that real quick. I don't even know how to handle this gone. There's just so many little divots on the front, and we're just going to run a ring around the outside and call it done. Could sit here and try and highlight every single little ridge. We'll throw like just a couple in there. Yeah. Oh shoot. That's the other thing I didn't do on this guy. See? Always when you call something done that you find like all the stuff you missed. Alright. What didn't I do, you ask? I did not finish painting this little moon icon on his gong. Just gonna throw a little bit of that Coelia green shade on the top of that. Really, that just kind of serves to darken it down. This particular skull thing is pretty flat compared to some of the others. There's not like, I don't know, the banner had some extra texture in it. The champion's shield was a little fancier and had a little bit more stuff going on. Yeah. So, it's not the, I guess, not the end of the world. But, let me fill you guys in on the downside of running an air conditioner when you have a wet palette. The struggle is real. It's drying out real fast, guys. Real fast. That's good enough. There we go. Brighten it back up with that Gauss Blaster green. You can still see, because I don't, with the Gauss Blaster green, especially on these, like, where it's kind of a little bit flatter, I don't, like, do, like, super, you know, like, maybe, like, 3 coats to get, like, a solid base. No, I water it down, and I run, like, a glaze over the top of it, just to brighten it up a little bit. But you can, it's, like, uneven on purpose, so you can still see some spots of the darker color through. It gives it, like, just like a little bit of a mottled kind of texture and appearance to it. I don't know. I like it. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and call this guy done now. We're going to pop him off to the side. And that's the command done. start another guy. Won't get finished probably, but let's do some netters. Those should go pretty quick, I think. Because realistically, it's just the net I have to paint and his shoes. Makes it easy. So we need a little bit more of our sort of brown rope color, which is, what am I using here? Steel Legion Drab. And we're literally just gonna put this all over the net. Honestly, I could probably be using a larger brush for this. Go even faster. Zoom! Mallet, a wee bit of water. Let it flow. Here we go. Oh yeah. That's the stuff. Alright, it's going to take a little bit to dry, so we'll just grab the next one. Just going to try and rock it through these base coats as best we can. And that one's done. We're just popping right along here. What do we got? And we're getting down to the wire, folks. Right. I guess technically I got off to a little bit of a late start because, you know, we had some tech issues. By tech issues, I mean my computer crashes because it's real old. It needs to be upgraded. Got roughly half of what I need set aside financially to do that, so kind of saving little bits here and there, and hopefully we'll get it upgraded sooner than later. Probably won't be by the end of the summer, but I'm gonna try. We'll see. I'd like to do it sooner than later. Alright, we're gonna jump back to the first one. They all still kind of look like they're drying. Realistically, I think I might be done. Alright, the other two are definitely still wet, so we're just going to let them dry. We're going to go ahead and call this a done stream. So we got that one guy, well, we got the banner guy finished, and then we did most of the rest of the work, or I guess all of the rest of the work on the musician as well. So got 1.5 of these guys done, like done. And we got to start the netters, so realistically, I'm pretty happy with the amount of stuff that we got done tonight. Especially especially since it was only like, you know, a couple hours. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's switch on over here. We'll just kind of close this out, I suppose. I would like to thank you all for watching and hanging out with me for the last couple of hours. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend a little time with me. Let's see. Next week is the 31st, right? If I'm not mistaken. I will end up doing a stream. The live stream itself will probably be, I want to say, Thursday this week, and then it'll go up on YouTube. The video, the VOD, will end up on YouTube Friday night. But I believe, if all goes well, next Friday I will be DMing a 5th edition D&D one-shot for actually a couple of well, actually I think it's just one of my wife's friends, one of her co-workers, but she's never played Dungeons and Dragons before and apparently is super interested and wants to give it a try. So I'll be running her through just probably a quick one-shot, something I actually put together a couple of years ago and ran some other friends through it. So it's, you know, I wrote it. I kind of know what I'm doing with it, at least. So that's cool. And let's see. Yeah. So it's going to be an early stream next week. We'll be doing it on Thursday night probably, and because Friday night I've got some plans, so I'm not going to be around for that. Anything else that I need to touch on here? Not really. We'll be back after this. We should be back to our normal. Friday 9 p.m. schedule, and so it's going to be Friday 9 p.m. Eastern from then on, and you know, pretty much it. So all right, anyway, I'm starting to kind of ramble because I think I'm tired. So I want to thank everyone again. Just a friendly reminder, Black lives still matter. And I want everyone out there to have themselves a good week and take care of yourselves. And I will see you next Friday.